Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Satanic Mass with Rev.black. I am your host, Rev.black, and today we have Omar from Medford Metal Fest, Metal Mixtape, here in the studio. Omar, how the hell are you?
Dude, I'm excited and I'm honored. You've always been a great supporter of the scene, and I'm happy that we were able to connect at certain shows and become friends. And I'm happy that we're sitting here today and we get to talk about the amazing place called Southern Oregon. I love this place with all my heart. I don't want to move to anywhere else. I love it here, and just excited and honored to be talking to you today.
Well, you've proven to be a very big part of the music community, and whenever I started doing this, your name came up a lot. You know, Omar, he does this, he does that, and you know, heard of the metal mixtape for a while, but didn't know exactly who had done it, you know, but yeah, your name came up a lot in the metal community, so I figured why not be a good interview, you know.
No, like I said before, I love our scene, man, and we have a lot of talented musicians here, a lot of talented promoters, artists. We here in Southern Oregon, we have a huge palette of everything, you know, because we have Ashland, we have Medford, we have talent, White City, and there's so many palettes of different, just comedians, sculptures, people that are just hand draw amazingly, just all sorts of great balance of artists, and I feel like Southern Oregon is just like, it's like, you know, we've Southern Oregon has gotten compliments from a lot of bigger cities saying like, you know, we treat our artists really nice here, and I just, you know, I am just one of a huge, massive group of individuals that work hard. You know, we're all a team, and as a team, we all succeed and just continue to do what we love. You know, I think what succeeding is just everybody just being able to enjoy and support each other.
I'm not gonna argue that. That sounds like a good definition of success right there, you know. I mean, because really, if that were the case everywhere in every situation, you know.
Yeah. It'd be
great.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And like I said, I really love Southern Oregon. I grew up here. I was born in Los Angeles, then I moved to Coos Bay. Was my first encounter with Oregon, and then I moved to Redding. But we bought our first house here over 30 years ago, and but then we rented it out and started moving around a little bit. And I came back in 2016 after leaving for 10 years. And yeah, no, I love our community, and I also, you know, I was one of the people that lost their house during the Almeda fire, and when that happened, like, it really showed how. Because the thing is, it's like I always preach that, like, dude, like, there's no, like, when, like, this is why I hate media a lot. It's because, like, when there's a catastrophe, there's no racism, there's no politics, there's no what you believe in or what I believe in. Because anybody will go out there and save a child. Anybody will go out there and save an animal. You know, everybody opens their tables to everybody to eat, to house, and to everything. And even when FEMA came, and they even said Southern Oregon was so beautiful because a lot of places during catastrophes don't come together as we did, and we had an overabundance of food and clothing and just overwhelming support, you know. So like even besides the music part, it's like I just love my community. I grew up with seeing the same clerks at Ray's Food Place when I was a little kid to now the same doctors and everybody that I grew up with, you know. So it's like, you know, the music part's second, like it came second. But at first, it's like, I used to go to, the Phoenix Parks and Talon Skate Park, Lithia Park. I grew up with all that. Like, this is like, Jack's Sports Shop when it was open, back in the skateboarding days, and, it's just like, this town just means a lot to me.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's Yeah.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing what you're doing now? With like the radio show promotion.
I've been doing
Metal Fest.
Metal Fest. So the Metal Fest I've been doing since 2020. We've done 3 Medford Metal Fest. We just started a new one called Hollow Fest, and we're going to be doing that every year for Halloween. But Medford Metal Fest initially came up as an idea to help Johnny B's, because when Trent and Britt took over Johnny B's, we got hit by the pandemic. So immediately everybody had a hard time paying their bills and doing anything. So the initial idea behind Medford Metal Fest was just to help the startup of the venue getting revived by 2 new owners, just new ownership and everything. So the whole plan was just like, hey, let's you see venues closing down left and right, and the thing is, it's like Johnny B's, with John Bach in April, they booked all my first shows when I started playing music in the scene and everything. So Johnny B's just became like really sacred to me, and Trent and Britt are just such amazing people. And I remember like, hey, let's throw like a show, and it went from 2 bands to 8 bands to 11 bands, and just to tell everybody, this year we're actually doing 15 bands and 2 stages this year. Next year. Yeah, so I've been doing radios. I'm doing for Medford Metal Fest for, well, it wasn't like right as the pandemic started, so we didn't do our first one till 2022. So we've done 3 Medford Metal Fests in a year and a half.
Oh.
And a Hollow Fest in about 20 months. So we did 4 festivals in 20 months. And then, thank you for the community and all of our sponsors and everybody in Southern Oregon for attending those. And then, radio, I've been doing radio since 2018. So when Jim Harris was a first host of the Metal Mixtape, and when I first moved to Southern Oregon, I started doing music. I'm always the first person to jump on mentorship. I love, I always say some of the best ways to learn and want to be successful is do what like the people before you did, and learn from people who have had trial and error, and people who have had trials and tribulations, and people who have had their ups and downs, because those are the people you could really learn off of, and Jim Harris was a huge person in the metal scene, and I immediately looked up to him, and I looked up to him kind of like as a big brother. And I remember when I was doing radio shows, I wasn't even doing radio, it all started with him posting, he did a post online, and he's like, hey, can anybody give me a ride to the radio? And I commented it, and we've never really hung out, but I've just always been kind of like, if somebody really needs money or something, I've always been somebody just like, even if like somebody I don't like or something, I've always just been out to reach out, because I always think like family and all that is like a bigger priority than like music, So I offered him a ride to the radio show, and I watched him do a show, and the thing is, I grew up like idolizing Howard Stern, and Howard Stern and Conan O'Brien, I idolized them.
Like Conan.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I like Howard Stern.
I know. And I
Conan.
even got to see Conan in San Francisco when he did a week-long show. He was giving out free tickets to fans who emailed them and said why they loved the show, and I sent them like a 2-page letter saying why I love the show in detail, and we got free tickets to go see Conan O'Brien, and it was George Lucas and Will Arnett were the guests, so it was cool seeing George Lucas like right here, and then it was Chris Isaac as the music, but back to the radio thing, it's like so I gave Jimbo a ride to radio, and I was watching him, and I just loved it, and I've always been just like a talker. I love just being social with people, and after I gave him a ride like 3 times, and then he invited me to go on air. He's like, hey, do you want to talk and like introduce some songs? And I was like, I've never done radio or anything, and I was like, yeah, sure. And then I did radio, and then I went on and did this, and when we got off, he's like, you're really natural. That was really easy for you. Most people are nervous. I'm just I love music, and I was excited, because like when I grew up, like I've always loved comedian. I loved anybody like in the social life, being social, like comedians, actors, musicians. I loved, I grew up with, You know,
you like entertainment.
Entertainment, yeah, WWF, skateboarding, everything, you know. So yeah, I loved entertainment. And then after a few months, Jimbo had a lot of things on his palette, and he had to step down from radio, and he's like, hey, did you want to maybe take over the show? You know, and I was like, sure, like, you know. And I remember I had to go through a 8-month probationary period from the station managers at the radio, so it wasn't just a handover. I had to prove that I could handle running ads, running music, be able to handle the board, and I have to be able to handle it you know, because I work under the FCC, you know, so I have to be.
Can't be cussing and shit like
that. Well, we can't after 10 p.m. Because after 10 p.m. it's considered safe harbor. Because then I can say fuck and shit and all that. You know what I mean?
I would be getting. They'd be like, nope, get out of here.
But you know what's crazy is that it's taught me from going from being somebody who's used to swear so much to somebody who now rarely swears at all. You know, like I don't swear in any of my music. I don't swear in, like hardly in any of my interviews. And it's nothing against swearing, but I've learned to not need a swear word to describe something.
Yeah.
Not that it's not bad.
I don't like using the fucking swear words.
I'll you know, I mean, when I hurt myself, I still go fuck. Oh, you know, when I stub my toe, you know. Yeah. I'm not gonna stub my toe and be like, this is just painful. I just joke. But no, yeah. So after my probationary period, you know, and what's crazy is that like my initial when I was doing radio, I never thought about doing interviews ever. And then about 3 months in, I was playing music by a band called Apothecary from Portland, and they were, hey, could you interview us? And I was like, I've never done an interview before. You know, they're like, oh, dude. And I was like, in my head, I was just like, all right, just all you're doing is asking somebody some questions. You know, and I mean, I know there's a craft to it, you know, after a long time, there's definitely a craft. But I was like, all right, you know, and I did my first interview, and then the reason I loved the interview is because it brought so much joy to the band to be interviewed. So for me, it's like when people are happy, like I get really happy. You know, like I call it energy amplifying. You know, if I can amp your energy, then I'm amping my energy.
Right.
You know, when we're like conductors of energy.
Oh yeah, a smile given is a smile received.
Exactly. You know? Exactly. So it became addicting, and I think in my first year, I did like 70 interviews. And then my following year...
You're on 300 now, right?
300, not including doubles. So I'd be like on maybe 350. But I don't count doubles.
Yeah.
I've interviewed my best friend Matt. I've interviewed him 7 times. He's in an awesome band. He just got done touring with Possessed. I'm really proud of him, by the way. Go check out his channel. Matt Miller. But no, it just, one interview turned to 2, and I remember I interviewed like every single local band in the Valley, every band in Portland, Washington, and all that, and I started falling in love with it, and then one day, you know, for me, it's like, I'm a believer that, like, if you don't ask for it, you won't receive it, but I learned that, like, if you ask for everything, you'll receive a lot. So one of the things I always go by is, like, instead of planting 2 seeds and giving yourself only that's your chances of success, and then be disappointed if 2 things don't work out, is to plant 1,000 seeds. Because if you get 10 flowers out of those 1,000 seeds, it's amazing and it's beautiful, right? So I've always told anybody who you ever get into any sort of industry, it's like you have to be okay with rejection, and you have to be okay with somebody telling you no. Because a no or being rejection is just an opportunity to grow, and if you take it with a grain of salt and you step back and you analyze why that even was a thing, then you're able to like really learn off of it, you know. And that's one of the things that I learned from like doing radio. It's like, hey, just because it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean that you don't have the talent or the work ethic or anything. A lot of things are like timing, but it's like perseverance. You know?
And the timing thing, like, seems to be a huge thing, because, like, with me doing it, you know, I reach out to a certain amount of bands at a certain time, usually I'll go in blocks. I'll be, okay, this month I'm gonna reach out to however many it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then rejection or just no response is really, what you get the most, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, they're going about their day. They're not, they don't know you yet, and they see, there's somebody, trying to get a hold of us, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of them don't even take the time to read it, I'm sure, but then those, say you put 30 out there,
mm-hmm.
and 5 good ones that you really like.
That's it. That's it right there.
That comes through, and you're like, it's just great. When I did the Pine Box Boys, when I got them, I was stoked.
Uh-huh.
I was like,
oh yeah,
dude, one of my favorite bands ever. Just, I absolutely love their music. All of you guys kick ass. By the way, just great music, great musicians, and whenever they actually returned my message, I was like, oh yeah, this is cool, and then I'd talk to them for a bit, and they're like, hey, we can't do it right now because we don't have a show to do up there, blah blah blah. And I was like, well, wait a second. We got Johnny B's. How about I send you a place that, I think would do really well with, or I think you'd do really well at. So, yeah, they got a hold of, Johnny B's and got back a hold of me and like, yep, we got the show. Let's do this. And that turned out to be a great show. And cool. They're like, because of that, they're like, Medford's going to be like our top of the tour spot now. It was, I guess, up north a little more. But they really got a good feeling and a good turnout from here at Johnny's. And they're like, this is where we want our top of our tour to be,
Love it.
So
it's great to hear.
Yeah, so I thought that was rad, and then Coffin Cats,
yeah,
that
I love them. I've seen them in Reading. Yeah,
such a good band, such good musicians, and whenever I landed that one, I was also stoked. I was like, I hit up a lot of my favorite bands,
yeah,
and I'm like, I'm gonna do it. We'll see who gives it. I hit up Behemoth,
mm-hmm.
And it's being that I know this kills a lot of them, and that's fine. I've had a lot of them say, well, we'd like to do it. We're not coming through. Can you do Zoom? It's like, I do everything in person. It kills a lot of the internet, but I'm like, I want to be, it's more, for me, it's it's just better that way. It's the way I want to do it, and maybe later I'll start doing Zoom interviews with bigger bands, but I like the in-person, and whatever I can get, I'm gonna, and I've gotten some good ones, too, so, I'm gonna keep doing it this way, and what comes of it, but whatever.
No, I dig it. I mean, when I first started doing radio, I've had like 30 bands in my studio. They all were in person, but there's nothing like doing it in person. Like, I completely agree. That's why next year, I got accepted to, I'm gonna go do Bakkenfest, and I'm gonna go do Hellfest. My friend Zoran, he's a publicist in California, so next year I'll be backstage for Bakken. And
I saw you got your passport in like a couple months back. You were talking about that one.
Yeah, so cause that's my dream, cause I want to be
So are you going there to do interviews?
Yes.
Or right on.
Yeah. So I'll be backstage for Vakken, and then I have my friend, funny enough, his name's Omar. He's in a band called Nuke. So I'm hoping he'll let me stay at his house the whole time I'm in Germany.
Right on.
But they have like a traveling like escort bus thing where like they bus all like the journalists and stuff. And my friend Zoran, he's been doing I don't care, I name drop. He's been doing he's done Vakken and Hellfest and all the big festivals down there, and it's just like it's always been a dream come true for me because Vakken has always been like the pinnacle of heavy metal in my eyes, you know, and it's, you know, it Vakken started off just like almost how Burning Man started off. A couple of dudes, because if you go to Vakken's a really small town in Germany, and Vakken is actually like the number one priority. It brings in the most funds for that town the entire year is that festival.
Huh.
You know what I mean? And it started off with like 200 or 300 people, then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, just like the same way of Burning Man, it was two guys at a beach. You know, they just had a bonfire, and then all of a sudden it got big, and now it's in the desert. Yeah. You know, but no, I feel you, man. Oh yeah. But yeah, no, I totally agree, dude. You know, majority of my interviews are in Zoom and everything, but I am really thankful. The first interview that ever made me scared was not scared, but like scared because it kind of put me like on edge was when I talked to Selenos from Demon Borger, and that was like 4 years ago. And I remember I had my friend at Revolver, me and Selenos, when he accepted my request, I talked to my friend at Revolver, and I was like, dude, is that Selenos? Is that really him? He's like, yeah, it's him too. You know, and what I love about Selenos is that when he's on tour with Jimmy Borger, he has a cabin with his family that he stays at, and he has no TV, no internet, no everything, and they do outdoor stuff the whole time. And I remember when I talked to him, it was like the most nerve-wracking thing ever. And that was my biggest one, because I've done, and it's crazy. It's always like him, and then when I talked to Gaw, he was another one, because Gaw is like he loves his wine. He's an amazing artist. Gaw is like very soft spoken, you know, and Gaw's like hugely famous for like, you know, things in like the dark arts, I call him, you know, and so because I've talked to Gaw, talked to Necro Butcher, I've talked to Selenos, you know, Mayhem, you know, Necro Butcher is the sweetest guy in the whole world. You know what I mean? I still have a picture of when he sent us a selfie. Because when we talked to him and when the radio show, it was like 6 a.m. in Norway. And what's crazy about Necro Butcher is that he's a huge like nutritionist guy, and he rides his bike every morning. He'll wake up like at 6 in the morning and ride his bike for miles. And he's a huge, you know. And it's crazy because
not somebody with that name, you're not picturing that.
No, but it's crazy, because when you think about all these guys, they're actually like some of the sweetest guys in the whole world. Like God, he was super quiet, but like he loves people. He loves being so, you know. He has amazing paintings that he does, and he loves his wine. You know, so when you meet all these people, they're almost like all the kind of like dads. You know, like you're just kind of like, yeah. But no, it's like, yeah, I'm just really happy of opportunities I've had in radio, and it's a dream of mine. You know, I take it really seriously, and I really love it a lot. And I work a lot. I listen to like 10 to 12 albums a week. I do, and anytime before I do an interview, I probably have like 1 to 2 full entire pages of questions, because I really like to respect artists in a way that I'll listen to their album almost 2 times completely, and I'll listen to it word by word. I won't have anything but my headset, a pen, and my notebook. And if the album has 15 tracks, I'll put 3 lines between each track, and I'll try to give an honest opinion about every single track. You know, and it means a lot to people. I remember when I interviewed a band called The Browning. So The Browning had me plus, because now I have a publicist. For my first 3 years, I didn't. You know, I was one of 15 interviews in his day. You know, and I remember after he did my interview, he actually called me back, and artists aren't supposed to call back publicists, and publicists aren't supposed to call back artists. You know, so he called me back, and he's like, dude, when I got off the phone with you, I teared up. He's like, I teared up when I was talking to my wife. He's like, because you actually listened to my album. Everybody else was talking about the singles. And you brought up your favorite songs in the album, and you actually broke down my album, and it sounded like you actually cared. You know, it's like sometimes you'll do mindless interviews where people will just, they say like AC/DC just came out with Highway to Hell, and all you did was just talk about Highway to Hell instead of every other song on the album that might have meant a lot to that artist, but the label just pushes for them to release the song. Like BYOB for System of a Down's Mesmerized, they didn't want to release that as their single. They actually wrote that song specifically to release on radio. You know, the label pushed them, and that's why they were in a 5-album deal with Warner Brothers, and they released Mesmerized and Hypnotized so they can get out of their contract.
Suck.
Yeah, but no,
That's
yeah,
right.
but when Johnny McBee called me, he's like, dude, I really appreciate it, and like we were talking about smile for smile and energy. It's like, you know, like if they're taking time out of their day to help me do something I love, and I'm taking time out of my day to do something they love, you know, I wanted to be like respectful, like mutually, you know. So
I wish more people would see that, honestly, but
you know,
some do, some
well,
don't.
a lot of times when I see a lot of journalists, I'm like, do you even like heavy metal, man? Like,
Not even just journalists, but
people.
anybody. like if there's somebody supporting your shit and you like what they're doing too, support it.
Oh yeah,
do that.
It's like being in a relationship. You know, it's like, hey, if you know, I don't know.
So, what are some of your bigger musical inspirations?
Like as far as
What that inspire you, like. It just inspire you. It doesn't even have to inspire your music per se or anything. But what?
Let's see. My first ever.
What's really getting Omar right now, music wise?
Well, music wise, my first ever was Ozzy Osbourne, and I come from a Mexican family. All my family immigrated here. You know, they all got here across the border in the 60s and 70s, and so we'd always listen to a lot of like Spanish classical. And I remember the first time, so this is the story about how I literally got into rock and roll, is that I remember in kindergarten I was in Phoenix Elementary, and I was in the Mexican classes and everything, right? And I remember I had like a fallout, and like I was a first grader, and I was playing kickball by myself, right? Imagine a little kid. Had no friends, right? Chubby kid, nobody, he was kind of a loner, right? I was playing kickball by myself. And
I can imagine because that was my fucking whole childhood.
Yeah. So the thing is, I'm playing kickball by myself, and then my first friend ever, my best friend, he's actually teaches English in Japan now. He's been there for like over a decade. He comes up to me, he's like, hey, can I play with you? And his name was Randy, right? I was like, oh, Randy, my first best friend ever, right? And he's my first friend who ever had me for a sleepover or anything and all that. And I remember I went over to his house. We were playing with Biker Mice and Street Sharks, you know, because that was what was popular back in the day, you know. And nobody really will know those shows nowadays, but back in the day it was Biker Mice and Street Sharks, you know. And I remember we were playing action figures and with our little army men, and all of a sudden I heard some guitar playing, you know, and it was some shredding, and I was like, what's that? You know, I told him, my eyes lit up. I was like 6 years old. I was like, what's that? I was like, it's my dad playing. You know, he's like, what is he playing? He's like, oh, his favorite guitar player is Randy Rhoads. He's playing Flying High Again. You know, and he actually named me after Randy Rhoads. And I was like, can we go watch him play? And we go in there, and he's playing out of a Randy Rhoads Jackson out of a Marshall stack. And he's playing Flying High Again, you know. And I remember my mind was blown, and I was like, what's this music? So he got me into Ozzy, and then after the Ozzy, he got me right into the Eagles, you know? And then I was listening to the Eagles, and my mind was just shook. You know what it was? It was like America slapped me in the face. Like, or just not America, but just like rock and roll. I never knew what rock and roll was, you know? And all of a sudden, Ozzy, the Eagles, Van Halen, AC/DC, like Led Zeppelin, it was like reality slapped me in the face, like with rock and roll, like, wow! And like, I've always been like a high energy kid, and I was like, this is the best music in the world. So, but like, you know, for me, it's like I listen to rock and roll, but I listen to everything. You know, I love Johnny Cash. I really love hip hop too. I listen to a lot of hip hop.
I love hip hop.
I love pop music. I love But
dude, I'll have my night where I'll just pop on fucking Tupac for a couple hours and just.
Dude, you got to.
Dude, I love it.
Dude, no, massively. But I mean, honestly, where I pull my musical inspirations, it all depends on where my emotions are at, because I really love love songs. I love songs about love and like, Oh, I'm not even for all you country haters out there, I even had my Toby Keith face, where
now I'm really saying boo,
because there was that song called He Ain't Worth Missing. Oh, we ain't worth missing. Oh, we should be kissing. Stop all this you foolish wishing. He ain't worth and
yeah.
Hey, the United States, baby.
I know. I love my old country music. Don't get me wrong.
No, I dig it.
But Toby Keith can.
I don't listen to him anymore because he hates. I think he hates Mexicans, so I don't listen to him anymore.
Yeah, he can suck a big one anyway.
Hey, you know what's crazy? I used to karaoke Toby Keith because I loved doing karaoke, and I remember one time we went to like a blue collar bar, and all the men had blue jeans, just straight cowboy bar, and me and I used to be in a technical deathcore band when I was in my early 20s called Gazelle in a Jar, and a lot of our merch was like, hey, if anybody ever pisses you off, you open up a Gazelle in a Jar and the Gazelle attacks them, we were like 21, 22. So we were a band called Gazelle in a Jar. And I remember like we're all like just wearing patches, like everybody had all just straight up patches. I chose the Devil's Pass 666 like just lit up in the back of my vest because I was huge into like Dimmu Borgir at the time, and like I worshiped Dimmu Borgir. I still love them; they're one of my favorite bands on the planet. And they all looked at us, and the thing is, they were both like hardcore dark brown native, and I'm like a Mexican kid, and they're just looking at us like, who are these kids? Like, really? Like, everybody's, like, wearing all these light colors, and there's 3 kids, and we were on tour just wearing completely black, just blackened out, all long hair, and I remember, like, I asked to go sing, and, like, I swear, it was insane. I swear, when I went up there and sang, I had, like guys, like, just people in their 80s and 70s, old-timers, everybody turned around in their chair like this. Like, what is this kid about to do? And then I do a Toby Keith song, and the place went ballistic. Everybody loved it. Afterwards, people were buying me shots of whiskey, patting me on the back. They're like, "Dave, you know what, boy? That was a good song there, boy." And I was like, "Man, why does everybody call me boy?" But I guess that's okay.
Exactly what you explained there, though, is how my old band got their name.
Okay.
Because, which was stereotyped in Blackgrass.
Okay.
We played Blackgrass, but
I love it.
So we'd show up to play music, and we get that reaction. Because longer hair, fucking covered in tattoos, big dude piercings.
Yep.
They're like, okay, they're gonna be playing some metal, blah blah. And I remember one time we played at this house party, and we show up and start just showing up, and hey, what's going on, and blah blah blah. And there was a big deck out in front of this house, or behind the house, I guess it was. And that's where the party was. When we showed up and start setting up our stuff, everybody's like, oh, they started moving back. And I was like, oh, I wonder why they're moving back. And it didn't occur to me at the time. I wasn't thinking that. I already knew what we do. You know what I mean? They didn't. And so that's what was going on. They told us later. They saw us, and they're like, oh, they're going to be playing metal, and blah, 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 it's going to be loud, and this and that. And pull out my guitar, acoustic, and we start playing, and they're like, what? You see these, like, what? Really? Oh, whoa. And then it just started, slowly people started creeping up, and then we were like, surrounded by all of them after, just a few songs. And somebody told us, they're like, yeah, we saw you pull up. We thought you guys were going to be playing some hard rock and blah, blah, blah. And then we played a bluegrass mix, and we did fairly well around at that time. But yeah, it was funny. So that's how we ended up taking on the name and it sticking. We're like, okay, we're stereotyped because that's what we are every time we show up to a place, is stereotyped. And
I like
and
that
so
makes sense.
That's what happened, and it stuck, and but we did pretty well around the valley for a good while.
It's awesome.
Until,
I love it.
Until we fucking broke up, and won't get into that. So, any bands you were previously in? I know we should.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about all of music all over.
I can tell you about the first band I ever got in.
What's that?
So it was the first real band I was in. It was I didn't get into my first real band until I was 21. So and because the thing is, it's like I grew up with no metal friends. None of my friends liked metal. They were jocks, nerds, just smart kids, and I was.
Some of the nerds end up being the best metal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I was really good at math. That's what I do now at work. I'm a data clerk, so I'm just crunching numbers all day. It's crazy because of like my literature and everything is just like really low, but I love numbers. I don't know why, but I turned 21 and I was always just such a loner musician. Before that, I had one person try to get me into a band because they heard me playing out of my window. But that wasn't really a real band because it was like one practice. But I was turned 21 and I was living in Reading, and I heard of a jam place called the Bell Lounge. It's not around anymore, but it was a blues open jam bar. So it was the drum set was open to anybody, and they had a bunch of amps, and you just plug in. And what's crazy when I first went there is that the music never stopped. You just swapped in, and they swapped perfectly. Everybody swapped in, and I was so nervous and everything because like I was a loner. I went there by myself, and none of my friends were into metal. None of my friends were into this type of were like musicians. I had like one friend, but like a lot of people like quit doing it, and then I just stuck with it, So I'm 6 years into playing, and I just I brought my I had a Fender Squier. It was like my first like little guitar that I had, and I brought in my Fender Squier, and I started playing, and like I already had a good, I knew myself, I knew my way around the pentatonic scale pretty well, and I went in there and I just started free jamming, and I started getting everybody's reactions. They're like, "Who is this kid? I've never met him. He just came out of nowhere." They're like, "Whoa, who's this kid?" And I started free jamming because I showed up and I was already awkward because everybody there was like in their 40s playing blues, 40s, 50s, 60s. Everybody was playing just blues music. And I went there, I was like, oh, I'm a young chap. I wasn't even drinking at the time or smoking weed or anything. I was like, oh, and I started playing the blues. And I remember I had fun that night. I was playing the blues. I was also really into Randy Rhoads, so like I shredded the blues a little bit, and then a day later, 2 days later, I get somebody managed to get my phone number somehow, I forgot they was like through a mutual friend on MySpace or something, you know what I mean? And MySpace, yeah. And this guy named Benny Lockhart calls me. He's like, "Hey, dude." He's like, somebody was. This is a true story. I'm not being full of myself. But somebody was like, "Dude, the bartender called me that night because they knew our band from Ashes to Empires was looking for a guitar player." And he said, "Dude, there's this kid in here." Power go out?
It's okay.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
Okay. Hey, cool. But no, they said, "Hey, there's this kid playing some Eddie Van Halen licks," and he's like, "You should call him." And I remember I was like a busboy and a server at a band, and I get the phone call, and he's like, hey, you should come try out for a band. And it was like an 80s rock band. They were playing, they had all originals, but they also were playing like 18 to Life by Skid Row, and like Motley Crue. Oh my god, I forget the song. It goes da na 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 da 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 na na na. It's a super popular one. I forget.
Kickstart?
Yeah, it was Kickstart My Heart. Yeah, exactly. It was Kickstart My Heart. And I remember I came in, and I'd never met these guys or anything. And they were a pretty popular band. They were selling out every venue in Northern California. And, and I remember they're like, hey, you just want to jam with us? And then I went through their set, and within one practice, I had 10 songs down. You know? They're like, whoa, you picked that up pretty quick, because, like, you know, I've never been, like, crazy musically inclined, but I was always a mirror player. Like, you know, when I played at home, I was always in front of a mirror, because I've always wanted to be a singer guitar player, so I did my best for, like, the first 10 years of playing guitar to not look at my guitar once, to just do it by feel, because it's like, it's a half step, full step, half step, full step, half step, full step. You know, one, a two, a one, a two, a one, a two, a one, a two, a one, a two, you know? And yeah, no, that was my first, you know, they brought me in, and it was the craziest feeling, especially, you know, because I grew up being a kid who was like really insecure, really not a kid with a lot of confidence. And then I went from being, my first band ever was a band that we were playing in front of 500 people. My first band ever, that was the band. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, look at all these people. You know, and I remember like my confidence skyrocketed so high that I was literally like, we were playing bars, and I was climbing on top of tables and on top of bars, playing shredding licks. You know, I was just so happy, and it was because my friend Benny, that I loved so much, he always told me to like be confident and be happy. You know, and I also mirrored his energy, because he was like the best front man I've ever seen in my life. He was hitting all these massive notes and everything, like Rodney James Dio and you know, David Lee Roth in his, you know, in his prime. And I was like, oh my God, like this guy's, you know, and you know, and he just blew my mind. So from Ashes to Empires, it was super cool. And then I was in a band called Victim of Angels that I created in Reading, and then I stopped doing music for 5 years. And it's a long story short, but after the reason I stopped doing music is when I was in a band, Gazelle in a Jar. We got signed to a fake label in Los Angeles, right? So and it was this lady that was bad management. So this lady dragged us all the way down to LA to Temecula, and I remember I sold all my extra guitars. I sold everything that I had in my bedroom to be able to make for me to be able to drive my 2 stacks of drum set, carpet, and it's crazy because on my way to go drive to Los Angeles, after we got so-called signed.
Keep talking, I gotta flip the switch real quick.
Oh, no, for sure.
Listening.
That's okay.
Keep going.
Oh, yeah, but, Breaker Blue. We'll be right back, folks. But what happened was, like,
Sorry.
well, what's crazy is that, so when we got signed and I filled up my car with everything, and I quit my job, and I was, because, like, I wanted to give music a real chance, you know, like, I'm going to go all in. And what's crazy is that when I went to, before I left to go drive to Los Angeles, like, my car was broken into, right? So what they stole was my duffel bag, and I had all my band shirts and all my clothing. So when I drove to LA, I only had the outfit I had on. But luckily they didn't take my instruments or anything. They just took they just took my duffel bags, so they took my clothes.
That's very lucky and strange.
But check this out. So I had just enough money to get to LA, right? On my way to LA, there's a spot called the Grapevine. And the Grapevine is like a little stretch of area where there's nothing, right? There's just absolutely nothing. So what happens is that, so check this out. I was driving down to the Grapevine. I had expired tags and an expired license, right? But I was like, rock and roll. I'm going to drive there anyways. So right as I was getting ready to hit the Grapevine, my front tire blows. And I'm in the middle of 5-lane traffic off the side of the road. I was stuck on the side of the road with no cops stopping, nobody stopping to help me for 6 hours straight with no water, no nothing, in the middle of straight the blaring hot sun with an expired license, expired tags, and a car full of equipment with no clothes and anything I had because I got robbed.
Yeah.
All within the same day, right? And finally, after literally 6 hours, I was depressed. I was like crying before somebody stopped. I was like tearing up. I was like, why aren't even the cops stopping? Nobody's helping me, you know? And I remember finally a guy stopped, you know, bless his heart. And he had like a I don't know, like a Geico kit or something, but he gave me like enough like fix a flat to get to the next station, right? And which was like 10 miles away, and he followed behind me and everything after 6 hours. And I remember I get to the gas station, and I was stuck at the gas station for 2 days, and my car was completely hunched over forward, a Nissan Pathfinder, because I had all the equipment, and my front tire was completely blown. So what happened was that my finally my dad was like, hey, like I'm gonna front you the $400 so you can go to the get the money. Luckily there was a tire shop right there, right? But the thing is like there was nowhere for him to wire me money, right? And the only place for them to get me wired money was 10 miles away in the town. So my second day from being stranded at a random gas station, I walked 10 miles to the nearest Western Union. And I remember about 8 miles in, I was completely dehydrated. All there was crops and farms. I was dying in the middle of the sun. I literally walked for a couple of hours, you know, and I remember I finally had my thumb out. Finally, this guy stops in his truck. He's like, dude, are you okay? You know, it was really bad. Like you could see like dead crickets and dead dragonflies and just like roadkill. And I was like, you know, that was after 6 hours broken down in the middle of the side of the freeway, 2 days at a gas station with no money, no food, you know, and I'm finally like just tearing up again. And I'm just like, he's like, hey dude, I'll give you a ride. I remember he had something to drink in his car, but all he had was warm Mountain Dew that was in the sun. And the first thing I had to drink in 6 hours, like a couple hours was warm Mountain Dew. So check this out. So he drives me to the place where the next Western Union. So my dad wires me the $400, right? How am I going to get back? I just did that whole track. So I start back on the way back. Same track. I was so desperate, I waved down a cop. I waved him down. I was so desperate. I was like this. He's like, what? You're waving me down? He's like, you know, he's like, put his flashlight. What's up? Are you okay? I was like, officer, I would never ask this of anybody. I am so desperate. Can you give me a ride? You know, back to the gas station, you know, and he pulls up my record. He's like, he didn't tell me that he knew I had an expired license because I was walking, you know. He's like, okay, you don't have a criminal record. Like, I'm legally, I'm not allowed to do this. He said that because the thing is, in those desert towns, there's no taxi services, there's no bus stops, there's no sort of transportation services.
Yeah, you can't call an Uber because it.
yeah. So the thing is, so he throws me in the back, and drives me that 10-mile track back to the gas station right on the side of the freeway, and he's like, where am I dropping you off? I was like, me just being honest, I was like, right there. He's like, is that your car? You'll see no expired tags, no insurance, and you have an expired license. And he's like, you drove all the way from Reading to here on expired tags, no license, with a car full of equipment and barely any money to get to Los Angeles? And I was like, yeah. He's like, look, I'm having a good day. You seem like a nice kid. Drive home. Drive back to Reading. And I'm going to pretend I didn't see anything. He leaves. I wait 5 hours, get my new tire, keep driving to Los Angeles. And I drive to Los Angeles just for our producer to run out of money in 2 days and everybody be broke and the band breaks up. And the closest connection I had was my cousins in Palmdale. So I ended up being stranded at my cousin's house for 3 months until I had enough money to get home to Reading. And that was all just so I can get signed to a fake label in Los Angeles.
Ooh. Reminds me of
rock and roll,
right? It's similar to a story that the guys from Total Chaos had told, but well, similar and different.
Yeah,
you can watch that one at some point if you want and check it out. But yeah, we got some fucking
yeah, but
some stories there.
But in Reading, I mean, when I moved back to Medford, I was in a band called Insanity's Ring for 6 years. And I found them because what was crazy is that like, when I moved back, when I first moved back to Medford, I got in a really bad car accident, and my car went off a cliff in Merlin, going up a mountain, and a tree saved my life. I was hanging upside down, about to fall into the like a river, and my seatbelt and the tree held up my whole Toyota 4Runner before I pulled myself out of it. I was upside down and pulled myself out like Jurassic Park style. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, I didn't die. And what happened is I hit black ice, and my whole car just flew. I wasn't speeding or anything. What's crazy, I decided to go to work early that year because I was growing indoor. And I decided to go a half hour early. And what's crazy, a half hour, if I would have gone there on time, the plow service was already on their way. So it's because I decided to go to work early. And that was when I first moved back to to Medford. And so I totaled my car. And I was in a really depressed spot, right? What's up, people? I was checking out. Yeah, I was in a really depressed spot, and I just lost everything. I lost all my savings, and I lost my car. And I remember I was living at my parents' house, and I was really depressed, you know. And my mom saw me look really just saddened, you know. And I haven't played music for 5 years, and she's like, and she told me, this is the reason everything started. I mean, she's like, Omar, what do you love more than anything in your life? And I was like, I love music, Mom. And she's like, go get it. You know? She's like, nobody's ever been able to take your music from you. Go get it, Omar. That's what makes you happy. Go start music again. So I put an ad on Craigslist and I was a guitar player, but I always wanted to sing. And I was like, I put an ad out to be a singer. And what's crazy is that a thrash metal band called me, and I was never into thrash metal. You know, I was in like Ozzy and Van Halen and the Eagles, you know, you know, and Linkin Park and Korn and System of a Down, you know, and all of a sudden it's like I got introduced into a thrash metal band, and I love thrash, is one of my favorite genres now. And yeah, and I'm playing music with them. We got to release an album. We got to tour the West Coast. We got to direct support Anthrax at the Armory. We got to direct support Powerman 5000 at the Armory, and we had some amazing times, and they're really amazing people, and I will always be thankful for my time I had in that band.
I know. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. He said Powerman 5000. One of the radio station that I do my show on, the couple of the other people that put out radio shows, one of them is actually Nick, the guitarist, Powerman 5000.
That's awesome.
Is him and his old lady Sagan do another radio show called Obscure Oasis on Gun Music Radio.
It's awesome.
Powerman 5000's a rad band. I like them.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, Spider's a good guy.
But so I know we're probably doing. Time's probably running out, so I'm gonna go
like an hour in almost.
Yeah, probably.
We can talk all day, baby.
That's okay.
Hey, part 2, right?
Right. Oh, what was I just about? Doodaloo-doo, motherfucker. Got my train of thought. Oh, that's right. I like to talk about music. I like to talk about horror. Horror films. I want to hear. Tell me right now. What is one of your favorite horror films, and why?
Let's see.
Everybody loves horror. If you don't, then
my favorite horror films. My favorite horror film saga always will be Child's Play. I love Child's Play. I love Ade Due Dembala. You know. Oh my god. What's his name?
Charles Lee Ray.
Yeah, Charles Lee Ray. You know, where the Charles Lee Ray. I normally have that one.
Oh,
I normally have Charles Lee Ray. Believe me, because he was a runaway convict that was, you know, and he stumbled, and, you know, but he also like did the like, you know, witchcraft, black magic, and all that, and you know, he was getting chased by the cops, and he was shot down, you know, and he knew he was gonna die, and you know, they just came out with the good guy dolls, you know, and he found the good guy dolls, so
Let's
he
possess this thing.
so he transferred his souls, you know, and yeah, so I mean, I grew up on those movies, and the second one with the Toy Factory was just like so iconic, and I think the third one is really what is it, like underrated. The whole military, you know, the craziness about how he changed out all the fake ammunition with real ammunition, and all of a sudden you just hear him, and they're shooting at everybody's going like, it's live ammo, you know what I mean? Like there's like so diabolical that way. You know what I mean? Just insane, like it's just like, oh my god. You know, so the Child's Play, and I think they did a good job. Bride of Chucky, they did a good job. The other ones just kind of crapshooted on me, but Child's Play was a huge one. Yeah, honestly, I mean, I don't know if you consider like the Evil Dead and like Army of Darkness. Yeah. So so I grew up on him. Army of Darkness is one of my favorite movies. So I could rewatch it over and over and over. Another one I loved was Bordello Blood, the Tales of the Crypt back in the day. The little skeleton guy always introduced in the movie. Now can I tell you? Yeah, the Crypt Keeper. You know, and I remember the Tales of the Crypt were just some of my favorite movies in the whole world. I loved all those movies. But yeah, I said those are the ones that always came to mind. Nowadays, I love paranormal. I definitely believe in like the evil spirits. Because the thing is, it's like where I grew up in Mexico, it isn't as commercialized as it is here. Because in Mexico, there was witch doctors, there was warlocks, it's a little different as far as like.
Here too.
Huh? Here, oh yeah, here too. But you know what I mean? It isn't like in like over there. There's like a lot of more poor towns. Like all, you know, they have like there's certain things like the forces at be. You know what I mean? I remember one story of like my cousin Gisela. She had a nightmare of this creature putting it in her bag and slamming her around in the kitchen. Right, this possessed entity. Right, evil. And the thing is, because this other lady in the town put a hex on her. Right. And she had this dream that she was completely beaten to hell and everything, right? And when she woke up, she was naked, covered in blood in the middle of her kitchen. And she thought it was all a dream. But the thing is, it's like over there's like a bigger thing of like hexes and spells and all this and that, right? So when people talk about like paranormal stories and everything, it's like, dude, I got a dime a dozen. Because it's like, we over there do believe in like the, you know, no, everywhere. I 100% agree. Brujas, yeah, brujeria and all that. Like that's like some real legit things. You know what I mean? You know, it's like, you know, when you see like, you know, Robin Hood Men in Tights and there's the witch lady in the tower.
Oh,
you know,
fly.
Oh yeah. See, like now that we're talking about it, I think there's somebody in the room right now. I'm just joking. He's been cool though.
I'm happy with him. He's good.
Yeah, no, yeah. It could be me. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But yeah, no, there's so many. Honestly, I can go for days. Nowadays, I just love I love exorcism movies. So The Exorcist is another great one. I love exorcism movies so much.
Favorite subgenre of horror? What's that?
Like what do you mean? Like
psychological thriller slasher.
Yeah. I mean, I would. Would you say like exorcism? What would exorcism go under?
Possession.
Possession is my favorite horror. Possession. Yeah, and I still watch like possession documentaries.
I love them, dude.
Oh yeah, no, like the last
possession documentaries are that's like. There's a lot to be learned.
Oh, and when you hear the tapes of the recordings and all that, and what's crazy, so for an exorcism, you have to apply it. It goes to like the bishop, and then it has to like get approved by all these like people in the church because it's like super dangerous because like apparently a lot of people die during these like so-called exorcisms, right, and all that. So I love looking at like it's just Because when you hear like the noises and the wretchedness and being like, oh, this person told me to kill all these people, this person told me to do this, but the thing is that like the reason I love all that is because like I just believe like us as humans are like such special beings, and that there's just so many levels that we can't comprehend.
Yeah, there's a lot going on that we do not know about.
No, all we got is Facebook.
That's 100%.
Because I don't know, but I like to believe anything's possible. So like at least once a day, I always try to move an object with my brain. You know, at least once a day, I go like this.
I do too.
I still can't do it.
I did it.
Yeah. Well, what's your favorite genre of horror?
Psychological.
Because I know you do great graphic arts and all that. Yeah.
I like slasher because I love like you're about to say or are saying. I love the effects part of it, and I like to work with special effects. So the slasher part brings you get to see all the the special effects makeup and just different applications of that shit. And that's what I like to see a lot.
What's your honest opinion about so these are two different types but sort of the same and not the same? It's like, so the Final Destination movies, there's all these different ways people die, right? Of course now everybody and their grandmother we're all afraid of logger trucks now. Because nobody wants the chain to come off and just slide through and, smash your body. But what's your personal opinion about like the whole Saw series?
I love them. Fucking love Saw.
Okay. Okay. I'll tell you mine, but I want to hear your first. What is the one torture or one thing they had to get off that made you like cringe? Like not you didn't like it, but it kind of gave you like a.
No, I think that was an easy one. I think it was the first one. Maybe.
Oh, I already know.
But
the timer,
freaking cage around the not cage, but
God. I'm so scared.
Whatever they called it, that into the mouth and to rip open the jaw, and like I said, I like psychological horror as well. But so that right there, imagine you're there and in 3 minutes your fucking jaw's is gonna be ripped off your freaking head. Or whatever, you know what I mean? That piece right there, I was like, oh yeah, that was a good one.
So no, for me it was the heroin needles.
In the pit. Yeah.
That was a terrible one. But you know what was crazy? I forget the name of this horror movie. I'm gonna look it up when I get home to rewatch it. So there was a pain meter. So there's something in your body that you release when you have pain, right? So 10 people in this room had to hit this limit for this meter, or like they would all get gas in this room. So they all had to torture themselves to create, so that, and the pain meter would go up. And
sounds like fun.
And so as soon as the pain meter went up all the way, then they would finally get released from this room, right? But they were gonna slowly die. So like they all had to like hit themselves to break with hammers and rip nails out of each other. They had to throw boiling water on each other to cause all this pain. So the meter would go up. And what's crazy is that they just tried to inflict some sort of pain and it didn't work. Like if they beat up each other, it only went up a little bit. They had to cause some serious pain because they all had this meter on their neck. And whatever they released was sent to this sensor that they had to fill up this bar of pain. So they all like at one point it only had like 2 people left, and like because they literally it came down to them having to kill each other, yeah. Oh, Squid Game is kind of underrated too. I like that. There was death in it.
It was fun.
Yeah,
but definitely not on my list.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but that was a fun one.
Yeah.
Dead Alive. Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a great movie. It's older, it's like a B movie, but
I love B movies. Are you kidding me?
I love B movies.
I love C movies.
But you get the chance. So I'm not even gonna say shit about it, except for it's one of the most gory movies that I've seen. I guess like it's fun too. It's a good one. Bloody can be.
It's insane.
I like it.
If there was I don't know, I don't know, there's so many ways I'd hate to die. I'd hate to get eaten. Like slowly. Like
Alive?
Like it's like if somebody chained me up and then threw like a bunch of mealworms on, like 10,000 of them on me, and they slowly just started eating me away. Cause like they eat pretty much everything.
Yeah, that wouldn't be fun.
You're just like, shit.
Might feel kind of just weird.
One's going in your butthole and penis and just.
Come on now.
Hey, I thought this was the show. We could say anything.
No, you can't.
It stops at butthole. Yeah, I hate that, dude.
All right, so let me see. One thing you want to tell them before we get the hell out of here, and
first off, I just want to thank Mr. Matt here, Satanic Radio 666, for the support for the music scene.
Satanic Mass Radio.
Satanic Mass Radio. My apologies. I want to thank my parents. I want to thank my brothers and sisters, my cousins, my aunts and uncles, grandparents. I want to thank all my mentors growing up. I had a lot of mentors. I still have mentors to this day. I call them my big brothers and big sisters. I want to thank all the artists in Southern Oregon. I want to thank all the promoters. I want to thank all the fans, friends, and family that come out to all the shows and support all their friends that love doing all these amazing talents. Yeah, I want to thank my son, because if it wasn't for my son, I always tell everybody that, like, the reason I take a lot of risks in music is because music comes second. It always will. It's my son first, So it's like, if I fail at music, or if I don't do something, I'm able to take a backseat and really analyze it now, because I love my kid so much, and my kid is just my everything in this world. And I never, and until I had my son, I never knew, just in my experience, how much love is, because you love, because it's like, I don't know, I feel love is a special thing. And when I had my child, it's the first time I had life hit me, and really hard. It's the first time I ever went primal when I had my son. It's the first time where I almost went ape-ish. I was like, you know what I mean? Like I went literally prehistoric and primal, and almost like a gene in my body came out where I've never been so overly protective and cared about a creature so much. And what it did is it got my ego and it ripped it apart. It's like, sorry, dude, it's not the Omar show anymore. It's your son's show. You better, so you better, if you think you're working your ass off now, you better, you know what it made me do? It made me take advantage of my free time, and so it killed my urge to procrastinate. So I'm just thankful to my son, all of you guys, and everybody for supporting, and of course Matt here. So thank you for having me on.
One last thing. I should have said. I know I said it was the last one before, but now this. If I can remember what the fuck I was gonna say. I hate it when that happens.
No, I went on a tangent. I went on a tangent about my kid.
Anything you got going on in the works for metal community in Southern Oregon right now that you want to talk about, or before?
I mean, all I can say is that I'm gonna do my best to. The thing is that I want to help put Southern Oregon on the map, and Southern Oregon is already on the map. But the thing is, it's like we have, it's so special here. So I have a lot of massive plans for next year, and I'm going all out. A lot of really, really big things. But what's awesome though is that, it's not going to be like one of those things where like it doesn't revolve our community. It's going to be something to directly help our community. So, you know, like I said, like I even told my coworkers at work is that I want to be mayor someday. You know, like in my mid-40s, I'd like to be like run for office here. Because I love Southern Oregon. We rule, guys. Southern Oregon rocks. We kick ass. This is such an amazing place to live. And I love living here in Southern Oregon. It's fantastic. I love you guys. And all I want to say is I'm going to strive to do my best because we are just such a great community and we deserve it. So so radio, it's gonna get bigger. Festivals are gonna get bigger. Everything is just gonna keep growing higher. And it's not bigger in a way where it's like it has to be commercialized. Bigger where like we have such a huge opportunity here, and I love our town and we got it.
Right on. So we got more festivals to look forward to, and we got more radio shows and more promotion and of all that.
Yes,
that's awesome.
Yeah. And,
well,
and when I run for office in 10 years, vote Omar.
Yeah,
a lower food cost.
Omar 2035. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming in.
Of course, thank you.
And you know, it's good to be able to talk. You know, talk about music with other people in the community that are actually, you know, trying to push the music thing, and so, you know, we appreciate it. And yeah,
rock and roll.
Thanks again.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Peace out, people.
See ya.